Welcome to Conversations with Women Who Lead, honest conversations about business, leadership, and what really shapes how women lead. I'm Anne Marie McHenry, business coach, consultant, creator, and a therapist for the past 2 decades. On this podcast, I sit down with women to talk about their businesses and their unique areas of expertise, as well as how their upbringing, background, and the social conditioning they've experienced have shaped the way they lead. We explore what they've had to learn and unlearn along the way. I'll also be sharing my own journey of founding and selling a business and the very real trials, lessons, and reinvention involved in building my next chapter, Rose and Stone. This is a space for thoughtful leadership, honest conversation, and women redefining success on their own terms. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for joining us on Conversations with Women Who Lead. Today's guest is Susie Crossland-Dwyer. Susie has always been captivated by the vast potential of the human body, mind, and spirit. At age 13, she began self-studying world religions by gobbling up as many books as she could on the topic. She would go on to graduate with a degree in comparative religion from Miami University, Oxford, Ohio, because she wanted to know how religion influenced and motivated individuals as well as cultures. She co-founded a life coaching company, Ikigai, a Japanese word meaning that which makes life most worth living, to help others seek out their own potential. Here she co-taught workshops to help professionals of all backgrounds clarify and pursue their life goals. It was through this process of leading others that she discovered her own purpose, to help individuals find confidence and strength through fitness and healthy living. As a result, in 2010, she founded Studio S. From the beginning, Susie's intention was to make Studio S more than a gym. From programs rooted in the community to classes infused with philosophical elements, Studio S is an incubator for others to find and be supported in pursuing their passions. Susie continues to help bring people closer to their personal and physical goals through one-on-one interactions during personal training, teaching a strength class, or coaching a new runner. She delights daily in the opportunity to combine her experience in life coaching with her passion for physical movement. In addition to Studio S, she has gone in search of her own potential by participating in many marathons, triathlons, completing Ironman, running 50-mile ultramarathons, completing a multi-day stage race over the Rocky Mountains, and traveling the globe. In 2017, she ran 6 mountain ultramarathons on 5 continents in just 8 weeks. Each event or adventure teaches her more about herself, the people in her life, and the universe. She's a certified personal trainer with ACE, American Council on Exercise, a group exercise instructor with AFA, Aerobics Fitness Association of America, a Pilates mat instructor with PHI Pilates, a Pilates reformer instructor with Peak Pilates, and she holds a lifetime certification in spinning from Mad Dog Athletics. Okay, well, tell me about you and your business. Let's start there.
Well, starting from the very beginning, I started Studio S in 2010. It is a boutique fitness style studio. We do strength training, run coaching, and Pilates. And initially, if you would have asked me when I was younger, I would have said, I don't want to own my own business. I'm happy working for other people. I'm just going to keep grooving on the things that are going well. But, life has a way of taking over in some pretty fantastic ways.
Totally. So how did you decide to start your own business?
Well, I had been working in a couple different disciplines. I had been personal training. The facility where I was working out of was pretty small, but I had started a spinning program for them. And then they also had a physical therapist there who was certified in Pilates, working with some of our professional teams here in Cincinnati. And she kind of took me under her wing, and I did like a lot of private training with her, and then decided to get certified in Pilates. So it kind of happened organically, where I had a group of clients who were kind of circulating between those 3 things. My spinning, which was like it was like a 5-bike closed room, no fans type situation. And then Pilates, and then doing strength training with me, personal training. And I felt like I was growing really fast. I was outgrowing that situation. So I went to the owner and I said, hey, what if we do this? We knock down some walls. And he just wasn't interested. So it was like, all right, we do it now, or we, my husband and I had the conversations at the time, like, the paths are going to diverge. Like, this is either the time to go full in on having a family, which we weren't sure if we wanted to do,
Mhm.
or let's take this to the next level. So I don't want to say I was pushed there, but it happened pretty organically that I felt like I had the clientele, I had the expertise. I just
Mhm.
didn't have not only the space, but this was in 2009. So there wasn't like this whole boutique fitness community vibe
Mhm.
happening. And I just saw a real opportunity for it to be something more than just the physical.
Mhm. Yeah, can you say more about it being more than the physical and this sort of boutique experience that your clients have at your studio?
Um, yeah, like I said before, like this was before the culture of boutique studios. Um, the spring that I was building out the studio, I had some friends come to me and say, we have a local marathon called the Flying Pig Marathon here in Cincinnati. And they're like,
Mhm.
we know you and your husband are runners. We know you're a coach. Like, can you help us train for this? And
Mhm.
we didn't have the physical space yet of Studio S, but I was building it out. So we just met in like a church parking lot. And it was a lot of the same people who had been training with me at the other gym.
Mhm.
And we would hang out for hours. We would run, we would do things afterwards, we would know lots of things about each other's lives, and it it was like a huge enhancement for both myself and for the people participating. So I was kind of just like going with that energy,
Mhm.
and seeing that uh the whole like get in get out mentality of traditional gym culture. My husband and I were also going to like a big box gym at the time. I would work a long day and then I'd meet him there. And we were having this experience of seeing the same people at the front desk. We would go at the same time every single night. And it was as if it was the first time seeing us. They wouldn't use our name, they wouldn't recognize us. So we kind of made a bet with each other of someone's gonna one of us is gonna win the prize, the person who can get the front desk person to say hello to them first and maybe even remember their name. Well, the sad part of the story is it never happened. Neither of us ever won the bet
Oh.
because so there was kind of like this intersection of, I think a lot of great products are um, a mix between an idea someone has and also a problem that they themselves want to solve. And so I was feeling this community piece. I was having this horrible personal experience in the gym setting. And, honestly, at the time, a lot of it was just a feeling of what could possibly be. I didn't know the specifics of it. I didn't go to business school. I had never run a business before, but the energetics were there. The interest was there. And,
Mhm.
I had taken time to build my background, my expertise, my clientele.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that story. That is, it's just, like, amazing how this business came to be because you had the expertise, you had the experience, but you were missing the community part and the actual, like, people at the gym knowing you or even caring to know you, and so that was the problem, right? And the idea was, "Let's start a gym, let's see if we can create this and bring our community, but also, like, solve the problem of people not being known or even
Uh-huh.
celebrated in the gym
Uh-huh.
space or in the space."
Hmm.
That's inc It sounds like community is a huge part of your business.
It is. Connection, like personal connection, is also a very high value
Yeah.
of my own. Being seen, being recognized, being called by name. I always say, like, if you're into being anonymous, probably my studio is not going to be the place for you. And I totally respect that. There are a lot of people who, at the end of a long day, they just want to do their thing.
Mhm.
Obviously there's no requirement, but to today it still happens organically. Like
Mhm.
actually having interest in the person beyond the body, knowing what's
Mhm.
going on in their life. Oftentimes part of a training group or a neighborhood activity. We do, stuff in our community as well. So
Mhm.
So that was like one of the problems I was trying to solve for. The other thing was the intersection of all these different facets of training. You know, the term now is hybrid training. Everyone knows that word. But again, it wasn't a thing back then. So the fact that I was not just a CrossFit gym or not just a yoga studio, those were kind of like the two boutique models at the time. But um, playing with like, how does spinning, running, the endurance part of it, how does Pilates and strength training, how do they all intersect? And again, just going off of my experience of the clients that I was seeing participate in all of those categories were having like skyrocket success. And,
Mhm.
you know, kind of like an N of one, like this is working for me and my clients. And let's put these together and let's see if other people who come in the studio can have the same success.
Mhm. So what would you say is your like the type of client that finds you and wants to work with your team in your studio?
Um, we have kind of a couple different types of community members. I think one is a person who has maybe been either intimidated or not felt welcome in a lot of
Mhm.
other fitness situations. You know, unfortunately, still to this day, I mean, I myself, as like an expert in the field, like I feel intimidated to go to a new place and I know what I'm doing. I know my body's capable and all of these things. And so I think one side of our clientele would be like someone who is a beginner and wants to get started or, you know, try something new because we have everything under one roof. Maybe they've done a Pilates class, but they're like, I really am interested in strength training and, you know, kind of being adjacent to the class at
Mhm.
first and getting a feel for who they might want to do that with at my studio. Um, and then I think the other main client is someone who is proficient, who wants to take their training to the next level, or maybe they want to explore doing a race. We have a lot of aging clients who also don't feel welcome in a lot of places, or
Mhm.
they've had an experience where the trainer is maybe not educated in a way that's helpful for their stage of life.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate that so much, because I have also been very intimidated by gyms and, you know, Dave, my husband, can, like, me into a gym and help, but he's so comfortable. It's just a different experience going with someone who, like, really knows their way around when, like, I don't feel very comfortable,
Mhm.
so I've always had a hard time finding gym spaces where I felt like I could just walk in and feel at home. I think for, like, that type of client, it's really lovely to hear that that's what you're creating and offering the community because 'cause they're intimidating. There's all these machines and contraptions and really fit
Yes.
people and, like, I
Clothes
yeah.
and jargon and everything. And
Yeah.
I feel like that experience, it doesn't start with the class. It starts like, what is your initial interaction with the person you talk to on the phone, or how are you
Yeah.
greeted when you walk in the door? How is the studio set up to feel
Mhm.
welcoming, to like not have it be transactional? And then the quality of the class, or the, you know, the fitness
Mhm.
experience itself is just a bonus, but it starts layers back.
Yeah.
And just to put that person at ease the second they walk through the door, or the minute you're on the phone with them.
Mhm. Yeah, and it sounds like people who, like, really know their way around a gym and know their capability in their bodies feel really welcome and encouraged in your space, but also you're catering to the people who don't know what they're doing, and really welcoming them and educating them is a big part of how you invite people in.
Yeah, and I think that like I think there are so few times in life now where, number one, we're like physically, personally interacting with people that we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's the power of like an actual physical space, but also being on a mat next to someone who it's their first class and they're
Mhm.
nervous, and someone who has been to the studio literally 1,000 times. Um, like I think having everything in one room and being able to speak to all those same people, or those people at the same time is really important, because you can isolate someone to, and we do have leveled classes, but the majority of our experiences are like multi levels, where you can see like, hey, that might be, not in a competitive way, but like there's a goal that I want to go for, but I feel okay and accepted starting where I am today.
Hmm.
And actually
Amazing.
seeing that in a physical space and having those interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't go to business school, you didn't have training in running a business before you decided to open this business. Is that right?
Hmm.
So how did you
None.
figure it out?
Oh man. Well, very clumsily. I mean, I was 29 years old when I built out my first space, and I'm still very proud of that person who did that and took that chance. And I'm sure I know your story, Anne Marie. Like some of it's just like you're in the situation. It's naivete. You're in the situation, and I'm I I'm a confident person. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I can figure this out.
Mhm.
And that's always
Yep.
kind of been my mentality. Um, so, uh, short answer would be little by little, very clumsily, and many iterations. It is, it'll be 16 years this June that I've been in business, and there are many overlaps from day one, and the studio is also very different. Um,
Mhm.
at least from the back end, from day
Mhm.
one, and then probably hourly too.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, I think confidence in having the attitude of like, I'm going to figure this out. And uh, similar to part of your story,
Mhm.
denial for a long time of the pieces that I was missing. And I'm not putting that on you, but
Yeah. No,
just
you
knowing
know.
like, oh, there is a next level that I can take this to. I just have to dig in
Yeah.
and not get settled with where I am if I actually wanna
Mhm.
ascend.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and I
Mhm.
think that's, like, kind of protective and helpful in the beginning because there's so much to learn, but I think I kind of hear you saying, like, you just had an attitude of you're gonna figure it out, and as long as you're, like, willing to keep learning in the process and, like, recognize that there's a lot you don't know and there's, like, always gonna be more to learn, then you keep growing and the business keeps evolving and you just keep figuring it out, but
Mhm.
it's quite a process.
And I'm really stubborn. That's the other thing that helps. Really, there's like a fine line between stubborn and stupid, but I'll take stubborn for for the time being.
You're like, "Yep,
Um,
that's."
yeah, so, and, I've had a lot of help along the way, more just, like, support and people who are in my corner, like, "You can do it." Like, I know you said your
Mhm,
husband was, like, very specifically helpful with the financial aspect of what you did, and I have had those hands and those voices along the way, but I
mhm,
think, like belief in myself, but also having that mirrored in the people around
mhm.
me who know me the closest and who know like the actual difficulty of how hard it is to do what I do.
Yeah. That feels really important to have the people around you who believe in you and who know that you're capable and want you to succeed. Just that community of support wrapping around you as you're figuring it out. I mean, I know how important that is, and it sounds like that's been a really critical factor for you too.
Yeah, and I've gone up and down with um do I want to stay in this? Do I want
Mhm,
to take it to the next level? Do I want to ride out where I am? And even having someone who knows you well, maybe they don't know the specifics of
mhm,
how the business works or your revenue, but they know you and they can sit with you in that space um of trying to help you figure it out.
mhm,
Um a lot of how like the big picture of how I run my business is based on it's to me it's not there are lots of teachable things in business, but to me one of my most important assets is my gut and how I feel about it. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, only I can make that decision. But there a lot of conversation and a lot of mirroring and
Mhm.
even outside ideas have been really helpful.
Mhm. Yeah. Can you say more about so I think it's really common that you own a business and you think about, like, "I don't know if I can do this. I'm ready to, like, shut it all down, like, this is just too much or it's not working." I think that's so common. I experienced that, like, I don't like, hundreds of times in my
Mhm.
business, like, "What am I gonna do?" And then you just figure it out or you don't, I don't know, but what do you think has been your secret or motivation or, like, how have you gotten through those moments when you're like, "I don't know if I can do this anymore, and maybe it's time to not do it anymore?" And also, like, for anyone who does close their business, like, that is amazing. Like, that takes a lot of
Yes.
courage too, right? But,
And
like,
there have
how
been
have you
yeah,
Yeah,
there have
go
been
ahead.
times where that feels not that it's a cop out in any way, shape, or form, but there have been a lot of times where closing it, that would in some ways be um, the harder decision.
Mhm.
um, I mean, it could go both ways. It
Yeah.
um, easier, harder, but um, so one of the factors for me is I was in one space for 10 years. It was a manageable space. I chipped away at the loans I had. I paid them off. It was in a really good place. We were getting ready to celebrate 10 years in business. And I was like, I feel great about this. I want to take it to the next level. I want, all of my physical space problem solved. I want a fresh start. I want a new neighborhood, all of those things. So I took the leap, and
Mhm.
that was I signed the lease on the space in January of 2020.
Mhm.
Um, started the build out in January of 2020, and then we all know what happened in March of
Mhm.
2020.
Yep.
So a huge part of what I've done with it is mentally having to, like, just start over because of the impact that COVID had.
Mhm.
Financially, all of the financial freedom I had in the business prior to moving, I took on new debt, and then all of the plans, I'd say 50% of the plans that we had for it weren't possible with COVID.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
So uh how how did I decide to keep going? That's the question?
Yeah,
Or
I mean, any of the moments when you're like, "I don't know if I wanna keep doing this," like, how did you decide to keep going?
mm, um I think things got really real with actually closing it. I started to take steps to close it down, and not many people know this part of the story. Um, it just wasn't financially possible. My husband and I had to cover all of the losses we had in COVID. We had taken a huge personal hit to our finances,
Mhm.
and it just it wasn't going to work anymore. So I think going all the way to that limit with this has to happen. Like, I don't want it to happen, but it has to happen.
Mhm.
Um, made me do a switch and creatively think outside of the box. And I think at the same time, I was on the edge of, um, there's the can it happen, and there's the do I want it to happen. And I think I
Mhm.
was on the fence of do I want it to happen.
Mhm.
And being pushed all the way into the corner with it affirmed my, "Oh, no, I really wanna do this. Like, I really
Mhm.
wanna make this work." And not that I wasn't trying my ass off before that to make it work, like, again, I'm stubborn and I'm gonna take whatever measures I need to, but, the personal cost was building for us. Um, so I th continuing forward, a lot of that, I'm someone that I'm pretty determined once I make a decision,
Mhm.
and being on the fence for so long, I think, was negatively impacting how I was handling things. And as soon as I was able to um, decide over again
Mhm.
that I wanted to move forward and I wanted to try different ways to make it work.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not saying that like things have turned around immediately, but
Mhm.
that's a huge part of the equation. And also
Mhm.
the mental approach of a lot of the disservice that I was doing myself was saying, this is 10, 12, 13, 14 years in business. Like, how, yes, I understand I got very unlucky with the timing of COVID and the decisions I had made. And nobody could
Mhm.
have predicted that. And I don't blame myself for any of that. But I was torturing myself with like, why can't I solve this problem this late in the game? And one of the things that has helped me the most is like, it's pretend it's day one, pretend it's year one. Like, how would you do it now if you were truly building from the ground up? And I think that's really helped with my approach and my creativity too.
Mhm. Yeah, that feels like a really refreshing approach when you cognitively know you're like 12, 13, 14 years in, and there at every point in the business, there's gonna be new barriers, right? Like bigger and bigger things to solve for, but also a lot more opportunity and reward. But when you're in those challenges, just kind of going back to square one of like, what if this was day one? What would my perspective be? What would my attitude be? What would my emotional place be?
Hmm.
That feels like opens up a lot of possibility rather than being in that place of like, I can't believe I can't figure this out right now.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
just
it really took it off of. I mean, I think it's okay that I was upset by the situation and, felt sorry for myself in some regards, but at some point, like, the narrative has to change to be productive.
Mhm.
And I really think that I had to be, you know, pushed into a corner and start to mentally go through the steps of like, this is going away. Like, not only what I have created over that amount of time, but like the thing that gives me purpose and joy. And I think some of those are like, it's like a sticky intersection because, um, we personally identify with what we've created.
Mhm.
And in a lot of ways, that's beautiful. But in a
Mhm.
lot of ways, when things are not going well, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard when your business is an extension of you, right? Like it's a part of you. You created it. It came from your brain and your heart. And that's amazing and wonderful and feels great in many ways, but when it's not going well and it's like still a part of your identity, it's like, well, shoot, this sucks. Like
Hmm.
I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to do this. It's
Hmm.
really hard to have like, your identity wrapped up in this thing that you created. I don't know. I'm curious if that's the identity piece. Can you relate to that? Like your
Oh,
business?
100%. Yeah. On a small and a large scale.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the ways I've really grown in running the business is because you're so deeply invested, and I know this is a lot true for a lot of
Mhm.
business owners, but you actually have those, like, for me, I have long-term personal connections with people in my
Mhm.
studio. And so I I can't help but think like how their lives
Yeah.
are impacted. And then on the flip side of that, if I'm getting a piece of feedback that I don't like or it's not been a great chapter, having to like decouple the
Mhm.
this is not my self-worth. This is this is yes, it may be part of my identity, but
Mhm.
this does not determine how
Mhm.
great I am as a person. And it sounds really simple, but and this is coming from someone who like I'm pretty darn rooted and confident in myself, but
Mhm.
it's a layer that I had to like
Mhm.
not get rid of, but I just like, okay, I'm gonna put that over here for a minute
Mhm.
and see if I
Mhm.
can disassociate those two things. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's so hard to do.
So hard.
It just
No, and
is.
I'm still practicing. It's all a practice is one of my is one of my
Right.
mantras.
It's all a practice. Yeah, it
Yeah.
has to be
Mhm.
because there's just always going to be things that come up that kind of are teaching moments to learn, okay, what do I do now? How do I want to take this? Do I want to internalize it and make it about me? Or do I want to just take it as information and learn from that?
Mhm. And I do
Yeah.
think I don't know if it's an age or uh, like the length of time I've been doing it, but I think the more I feel like one of my superpowers, the things that I have going for me, is that I can zoom out from a lot of situations, and I feel like in those scenarios, the more I can zoom out and see the cycles of how it has played out in the past, the more I can um, not take things so personally, not have it impact my personal identity as much. You know, having that that thought in my head of like, how has this happened before? And in the future, like if I looked 5 years in the future, like, is this moment in time really going to make a difference? Sometimes the answer is yes, and oftentimes it's no.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's a really helpful perspective to have. Just getting really clear with yourself about, is this going to matter 5 years from now? Sometimes
Hmm.
yes, and a lot of times no.
Because they all feel very, every situation, whether it's talking about shutting the business down or a client interaction that didn't go well, like it
Mhm.
all feels to your nervous system like this is the absolute most important thing.
100%. Yeah. And oh my God, what's going to happen? Am I going to
Mhm,
die? Maybe.
mhm.
Okay, but actually, no, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Um, can we talk about, I guess, so your business, you're in your 16th year. You
Mhm.
started at age 29. You have lived all the way through your 30s and now into your 40s. How much of your life has changed since you started this business?
I think it's changed a lot in some ways and not in others. Probably the the other layer that has happened in the last 4+ years is that I had my son. He's 4.5, and that came directly after COVID. He was born in 2021.
Mhm.
So I would say the biggest difference is that factor playing into it. Um, I the like not this isn't on a personal level, but I feel like the landscape of fitness has changed
Mhm.
dramatically. And I'm not someone who spends a lot of time looking around. What is this person doing? What is this person doing? Like, I'm just in my thing and with the blinders on. And I think that that has served me really well. But it is a new landscape. And, um, you can't be totally blind to trends and the number of businesses popping up around you.
Mhm.
My philosophy has always been like there's enough for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, but it is a more crowded space now.
Mhm.
So that's kind of on the business end of things. But personally for me, yeah, I think having being an entrepreneur, continuing to interact at a high level with the business and be the type of parent that I wanna be. It's a very complex puzzle, as I know it is
Mhm.
for so many
Mhm.
parents, regardless of entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Um, but as I said earlier, I am someone who, like, takes when I commit to something, I'm gonna take it to the nth degree, and one of the hardest things for me is if I was putting, let's say, 210% of myself on the studio, obviously sharing that time with my family, the percentages have changed, and
Mhm.
it's not only, like, the ratio, but it's the impact that I feel not being able to give. And this is, like, my my current complaint is, like, I don't feel like I can give anything 100%, and
Mhm.
that's really hard for the way in
Mhm.
which I work. And so, leaning into the systems and the strategies, and
Mm.
also a new level of letting go. I mean, I think that's probably
Mhm.
between starting the business and now my personal development as a person, the biggest thing that I've developed is a sense of, um, not just sit back and let anything happen to you, but like of hands off a little bit. I have had a decade in my life where I truly believed like I was in control of all these pieces that were going well.
Mhm.
And then when they weren't going well, or I was, facing other personal challenges, um, it's like, oh wait, maybe that's not how this works. Maybe I don't have as much control as I think.
Right.
And that has been across the board from home life to business life.
Mhm.
Um, a new identity with doing what I can do, but then surrender.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think you've brought up in a couple different places, like, you can have all of the plans and know what you wanna create, and then especially with COVID, for example, like, you had a great plan to, like, evolve your business to the next level, and then COVID hit, and, like, half of your plans you couldn't do,
Hmm.
right? And, like, there is an element of letting go because the more that we try to control things, like, we learn that we don't have as much control as we want or we thought we did. And that feels like a really important life lesson, but also as a business owner, like, there's really only so much you can do. And then
Hmm.
sometimes we have to actively let go of things and let other people take ownership of those things because you can't do everything at the same time, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I just even on like an energetic level of my response to something not going well has always been dig in, go harder,
Mhm.
go longer, do more, like
Yeah.
figure it out, like I said that in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, and it was kind of that same intersection of like being pushed into the corner. I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the approach. Maybe the approach is, and I'm someone I love metrics, I love systems.
Mhm.
I enjoy the business side of things, but energetically, I do find the harder I clench, the less it works.
Yeah.
Um, and there is an unexplainable power in letting there be a flow to it. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Can you, if you're open to talking about, like, mental health and, how you have navigated getting through, like, the really difficult times, what have you learned about yourself? What have you needed to do to take care of yourself? Any strategies, just anything you might feel comfortable talking about?
um, yeah, so the m the mental health struggle and the kind of being pushed into a corner with the business, like, those are those are at a definite overlap. Um, 2023 was kind of like the height of it for me, um, where I I'm someone who I I like being with people, but I'm a solitary person, and so, um, I retreat, um,
Mhm.
which feels good to me at the time when
Mhm.
I'm under stress, but, for solving a situation, like, being in a mental hole, I think there was kind of like it was like an apex of 3 things. The business was I was having to make some major decisions, and that was impacting my identity as we've discussed. Um, I was under major, uh, sleep deprivation even though it was, a year and a half into, having my child, and we were still figuring it all out.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think having all of those things come to a head at once and me being able to admit, like, this could become tragic if I don't do something differently.
Mhm.
Um, and no one big solve for my mental health. I think, there were a lot of little things that I did. Um, oh, adding a thing here that got me the time I needed, throughout all of it, and it did get really bad. Throughout all of it, the thing that I just kept saying was like, if I have time, if I can find time, and most of that was like probably in retrospect, like time for myself, time to
Mhm,
like be in my body, feel who I was again, not connected to the business, not as a
mhm,
mother, all those things. And that gut sense was right. So
mhm,
um, no one solve, but adding in little things that provided me grounding and like a return to who I know I am.
mhm, mhm. Was there any of those little things that you'd wanna share or that was more impactful or I'm just so curious because I appreciate you sharing this, Susie, because I think, like, the mental health aspect of running a business, and I think especially as women, like, we are the default so many things, especially as parents, even if you have the most wonderful partner, like, a lot of times a kid only wants their mom, right?
Mhm,
But, like, in the house and in different ways that we show up in our friendships, our relationships, our partnerships, there's just a lot I think that women carry that maybe men can't always relate to. Add a business onto that and employees and revenue cycle and taxes and just like the stress of keeping the business healthy and being able to pay all these people that are relying on you for some source of livelihood. It's just a lot. And like the mental health part is so present, or the mental, like, and emotional suffering is so present. And
mhm,
I can really relate to that. And every business owner I've spoken to, like, it's just so hard to stay okay, but you have to.
mhm.
So, right? Like,
And I
I'm just
and I think the yes, everything you said, yes. And the layer of, I don't know if you felt this way, but the layer for me of um not that I felt like I couldn't share, but the sharing, the being real, the being open, like that's always been part of my philosophy and part of my magic. And I've invited people into my life in many ways, the things that I like to do and that inspire me. And I think that has also helped build my community. And so I think this cognitive dissonance between who I have to be in public and
Mhm,
what I am feeling at home, like that was huge. That was like
mhm,
one of the worst things.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and I do think this is something we do more as women is like make not I never wanted to pretend, like I was never trying to lie to anyone. Like if you would have asked me at the studio, I probably would have told you a lot, but like I'm not gonna walk in and say, guys, this is really bad, like I'm doing the best I can. um so I actually think that telling more people the truth of what was going on was one of the things that helped me,
mhm,
because that cognitive dissonance was getting so bad of like,
mhm.
I'm not pretending, but I'm also not telling people because no one's
Right,
asking me. Because who would think to ask me? And
right.
again, in leadership, as you know, it's like, oh, well, I'm here too. Like I have the same
Mhm,
needs that I'm caring for you, my employees, and my
mhm.
clientele, and but you're probably the last person to be asked.
You are, you are.
Mhm,
You just because it's like your job, and this might be more like female oriented too, but it's your job to take care of your team.
mhm,
And everyone is looking to you to hold it together and to have the answer and to tell you that everything's going to be okay. It's your job to like tell everyone everything's going to be okay, right? But like,
mhm,
is it? I don't know. And is anyone actually checking on you? Probably not because they're struggling with their own stuff and
mhm,
you're checking on them. Like that's your job is to check on
mhm,
your team and to make sure they're okay. So I think the leader gets lost a lot of the time. And then you go home and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't do this.
mhm,
But like to some degree, I hear you. Like you can't really show up in your business and be like, I'm not okay.
mhm,
Like I just don't like that. I think that's a responsibility that we carry as leaders to like keep moving things forward because people need to know that they're in a
Mhm.
safe work environment, that things are stable enough. I
And,
could be wrong.
some of
I struggled with that too.
yeah, some of the advice I got in the moment from people I did trust with the real information, was like, "You need to be more open about it. You need to be more forward about it." And I'm like, what does that really do? Like, for the business itself, for the sake of the business. I'm like, what does that accomplish?
Mhm,
I'm not looking for pity. I'm not looking, like, I know people wanna support me, but
mhm.
again, zooming out, like, that's not good for the energetics. Like, you will support that business, but then in the back of your mind, I
Yeah,
don't know, you're
yeah.
taking on something as a client. So, um, yeah, and it's a feedback loop that keeps looping
Mhm,
on itself. The more you're there, seemingly okay, keeping it
mhm,
together, moving things forward, the less people ask, the less people you think to even like, "Oh, this person doesn't even
mhm.
have needs."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I still don't know what the answer is either. I think
yeah.
it's fine when things are good,
Mhm.
um, but, which is why it's so important the work that you're doing to show more behind the curtain of the real
Yeah,
impact, both good and negative on.
yeah. I mean, I've heard and I think this is true, and, like, this is where it gets confusing for me also, is, like, the sign of a good leader is, like, not really knowing all the things that are going on behind the scenes and all the stuff that's really hard. Like, if you're able to hold it together for your team and your team is confident in you, like, you're doing a really good job. But the other side of that is that you're suffering, and there is so
Mhm.
much responsibility that you're carrying that sometimes you just don't know if you can handle it. But like, I always had in the back of my mind, like, the sign of a good leader is that nobody knows,
Mhm.
like, they trust that you know what you're doing because you do at the same time, right? But, like, you
Right,
can't necessarily unload everything onto your team, like, that's not their responsibility to carry either. They just signed up to have a job, not
right,
to, like, check in on the boss,
right.
right?
Yeah,
So, I don't
yeah.
know, it's complicated.
It is complicated. I wish there was a straightforward when you find the answer, you let me know.
Right, well, I think this is part of the answer is, like, actually
Mhm,
talking about it, like, leader to
mhm.
leader and, like, business owner to business owner, like, we need that community because you can love your team as much as you love your team, like, they're wonderful people, you hired them for a reason, but they still don't know what it's like to own the business and to run it. So,
Yes.
talking to other women who do understand that, I think is part of the answer, like, we need that community.
Mhm. And I haven't I totally agree with you, and I think the work you're doing is, like, so amazing, so needed. In the beginning of the studio, there was, like, a group because there were so few, like, single boutique owner type
Mhm,
places. I was in a group initially. We didn't do much with it, but just even knowing that occasionally
mhm,
we check in and be like, "Oh, this is hard. How about you?"
yeah,
Just even knowing that they were out there, like, doing the
mm,
same going through the same process, like, that is helpful. But again, I think as founders, as females, like, I don't wanna project my own personality onto other leaders, but I do think there tends to be a lot of similarities in having more of a solitary, "I can do this myself" approach.
mhm,
Um, and
mhm,
yeah, that only compounds the issue.
mm, yeah, 100%. So, think about, like, what you would wanna do differently, or if you were speaking to a young entrepreneur, or even you at 29, what would your advice be?
I've thought a lot about this because I actually have a couple really close, friends and former, employees, like, literally in the process of opening their own,
Mhm,
studios. And I can't drill it down. I think a lot of it is lived experience.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, I think you do need maybe not a literal board of advisors, but you need 5, 10
Mhm.
people that you can call at any time of the day and weigh in with, or get them together and be like, this is a problem I've been working on for a decade. Like, what are your fresh
Mhm.
thoughts? I've always been kind of shy about that, because then my personality is, I feel an obligation to, here's this person who's giving me their time and their perspective, and they know me, and
Mhm.
they've, invested in me, whether through friendship or otherwise. I feel obliged to follow through, and I don't always want to be on the hook for
Mhm.
having to do that. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons I struggle with feedback, is because I like my own I like my own ideas, I like my own perspective, and I don't
Yeah.
want to feel obligated.
Yeah.
But I do think this concept of, like, your board of advisors who maybe know you in different capacities or have different professional expertise,
Mhm.
um never a formal meeting per se, but, like, they're
Mhm.
waiting in the wings,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
if you need them.
Yeah. I think that's so smart. Like, choose the people that you trust, that you know also have the experience, that you can then rely on to ask for advice or just to troubleshoot things with, but with the caveat that you don't have to follow through with whatever they tell you,
Yeah.
but you
And
can get
sometimes I've done it where I'm like, "Oh, it was thank you for talking to me. It has solidified how I feel." Oftentimes, I'm sure,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
with talk therapy, it's similar. Like, it just, that's what I needed, is, like, the confidence to know exactly how I feel about what I'm
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm. Absolutely. What do you feel like you're still figuring out?
I'd say layers of a lot of the things we've talked about.
Mhm.
I am still figuring out that if uh if I have time and I can't give 100% to something, like, how do I manage it? How do I mentally deal with being okay that I'm not giving 100% to something? I'm definitely still figuring that out. And
Mhm.
I don't imagine that I'll ever solve for that. Um, yeah, I think that that's the biggest one. And yeah, how to stay engaged with my ever evolving self. And I
Mhm.
hate I hate the phrase, like, do it all, because I don't think you can do it all, but I think you can do a lot. And so even though I don't
Yeah.
have time, I am, like, I'm curious enough to want to keep evolving. And how do I stay in contact with that person who needs time to explore curiosity. And
Mhm.
a version of the studio will always be in my life, whether, it's a brick and mortar or whatnot. I have no plans right
Mhm.
now, but um I still have a lot of other things I'm interested in, and creating the space for that person to engage with
Mhm.
those.
Mhm. Mhm. What do you think you're doing really well right now?
Um, I think I'm doing a great job um of being the leader that I never had. Like, that's
Mhm.
been a huge part of my motivation throughout the years. Um, and not to say I didn't have good leaders, but leading in a way that I'm proud of, for maintaining my own personal integrity, while also correcting for a lot of the things in my business that I've let slide.
Mhm.
And those are a lot of the things that will allow me to keep doing it. So having that balance between, like, I feel good about it. I feel good about, like, continuing to be myself in that equation, but also do what needs to be done.
Mhm. What is one thing that you wish that more people knew about you that maybe they don't always see?
Um, that's harder than it looks. Um, that, I think a lot of my frustration or, reflection comes from feeling like I have thought about, like, the big picture of what it is, and I think it's seen in the smoothness in which things run,
Mhm,
but I don't, and this kinda ties back to family culture, larger gender culture
mhm,
is, um, I was taught to be modest. Um,
mhm,
I was taught to not indirectly, all this was indirect,
mhm,
um, talk about my accomplishments, talk about my superpowers, talk about, and I think as a result, a lot of people don't understand the level of intentionality that I have with not only the business, but everything in my life.
mhm,
And that's where a lot of like the feeling of disconnection or not being understood in what I do
mhm,
comes from because, how are they supposed to to know? But yeah, I I'm that's another thing I'm still working on is that mix between being who I am in modesty, but also, like, speaking loud enough that I feel understood.
mhm. Yeah, that's such a hard conundrum to be in. I understand exactly what you're talking
It's a
about.
lot of unlearning, I think.
It
Mhm.
is, it is. What do you think that women do exceptionally well in business that more people need to be talking about?
I I can only speak from my experience of what I've seen, but I think something similar to having more of the big picture, seeing more of the whole
Mhm,
person,
mhm,
um, similar to what I do is, like, zooming out and, yeah, I mean, it's what my business model is based on is, like, caring for the whole person, and I think a lot of women do that really well, um,
yeah,
in their
yeah,
own practices.
yeah, I totally agree. Um, is there anything else I'm just keeping an eye on time, and we can wrap up soon, but is there anything else that you wanna share about your business or about you or your family or anything that has informed all of this?
We've covered a lot of ground, I'm sure there's I'm sure I'll think of more later, but, yeah, I think we've covered
Mhm.
a lot of the bases, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. Where can people find you?
I they can find me on social media, personally on Instagram, Susie CD. My business is studioscincinnati.com, and it
Mhm.
also has an Instagram page, and yeah,
Yeah. I have one more question for you.
sure.
What are you most proud of right now?
Um, I I'm most proud for gonna make me tear up, but being okay giving up and then not giving up.
Mhm.
Being okay with both.
Yeah. I know you've had a lot of both in your life, of things working and not working,
Mhm.
giving up and then not giving up. But yeah, you're still here.
Yeah. Thanks, Amory.
Thank you so much, Susie. I
Yeah.
know an of your time is very precious, and I'm very grateful for you showing up and just honestly sharing more about your story with your business. It's just like so lovely to talk with you about all that's happened because there's a lot that I obviously don't know, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing.
It's my
I know.
pleasure. I feel like, there have been lots of people along the path that have done the same for me and that I've gotten a lot from, and
Mhm.
so that's always the motivation is
Mhm.
if it helps. So I hope it does.
Yes, me too. Me too. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure
Yeah.
I can relate to a lot of your story. And I know that, I mean, if I can, I'm sure a lot of other people can too. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And well, thanks for putting the process together to put it out there. I think it's really important work, and
Mhm.
yeah, we definitely need more of it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, I hope you have a lovely weekend
Thank
and
you.